What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Bamainsider YouTube channel on a Tuesday night, and it's time for talking recruiting with the guru himself, Mr. Andrew Bone. But before we go there and get into everything going on in the world of Alabama football recruiting, let me ask you to do me a solid, and that solid is say Roll Tide with a thumbs up. Hit the bell. That way you'll know when we're live. Like and subscribe to the Bamainsider YouTube channel. Since Bone and I talked last, we went over 80,000 subscribers on the channel, which really is phenomenal. It's been amazing growth. And Bone, I got to tell you, I came on here, I don't know, 2.5 years ago that it was 31,000. So the growth that this channel has had is phenomenal. And these guys are the best that follow us. And you see them all in the comment section. You got to love these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's incredible what all we've been able to do with the YouTube channel through the years. I remember when we first kind of started up and everybody was, unsure of the direction it was going to go, if we were going to continue to do it and the success of it. I think the production, everything that kind of goes on behind the scenes. I mean, I'm just, the job's easy for me. I just kind of sit here and answer questions. But, you guys, behind the scenes, Chris, Trey, Kyle, yourself, y'all do a lot to make this channel, the highest quality that it can possibly be. So I'm thankful to be a part of it, but also thankful for all the people who watch it. Every single week, because we have a very loyal following, and we couldn't do it without you guys.
Yep, you guys are the best. And don't forget, right now you can be part of On 3, Bama On 3. You're going to want to do this. Bamainsider.com, now part of On 3. You get all the recruiting inside information, all the big-time nuggets from the man on the screen right there, Andrew Bone. Joseph Hastings is beating the pavement, too. You got all of the On 3 specialists, and they help out as well. You get the message board with Jimmy Stein, team coverage with Clint Lamb, and it's getting better and better and better. So do yourself a favor and sign up now. $10 gets you an entire year. You want to dip your toe in the water, you can do that. $1 will get you 4 months just to try it out. But I'm telling you right now, this is the place to be, and it's just going to continue to go that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously everybody knows we got it covered on the recruiting front pretty well. And we got a lot of, it was a busy month. I mean, there was a lot of top recruits who visited Alabama, top recruits who went elsewhere, even, some commitments who took visits to some other schools. And, we saw, I think we saw one commitment in the month of October. That was from Ryan Williams, committing to Alabama, 2025 wide receiver out of Saraland. So now we're kind of focused on this month. I mean, we are in November, and there's a lot that's going to go on this month with a lot of kids taking their final visits before making decisions. We've got decisions that are scheduled over the course of the next few weeks, including 2 that are happening this week. It's going to be interesting, especially it gets a little bit more interesting when you get into November, because there's all these coaching changes that start happening. And obviously with Auburn, the things that are going on down there right now, not having a head coach, and, who are they going to bring in? What assistants potentially join that coaching staff? How will that affect, some of these programs? How will it affect Alabama potentially? And, it's definitely something that we're going to be watching pretty closely, especially with, potentially some more coaching changes, not in the SEC, but throughout the country, because it can certainly have an impact on the recruits, their decisions, especially if some of the assistant coaches that they've been recruited by for the last year or so, potentially go elsewhere. So it's going to be pretty interesting, and could have a negative impact on Alabama, could have a positive impact on Alabama. You just never know how it may all shake out. I mean, we saw Jahai Campbell flip to Alabama last year from Clemson. After Brent Venables took the Clemson job.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that can potentially happen, and potentially go in favor for the Tide. So going to be a fun month and a half here coming up, especially with the early signing period, in mid-December.
All right, let's talk about some 2024 decisions that are happening this week, and we go all the way out to the Golden State, California. Julian Sayin is going to announce his decision between Alabama, LSU, and Georgia.
Yeah, big commitment on Wednesday. Julian Sainz going to announce at I think it's 1:45 Pacific, so 3:45 Central Time for all you folks living here in the state of Alabama. But Julian took an unofficial visit to Alabama a couple weekends ago for the Mississippi State game. It was I believe it was his third overall trip to Alabama. There's definitely a lot of high interest in the Tide, and Alabama has very high interest in him. This is definitely a guy that they have heavily targeted, and definitely would like as a part of its 2024 recruiting class. You always, start to question, when you have two quarterback commitments in your current class, how is that going to affect, the next year? Will top end quarterback still roll the dice and join the next class, or will he potentially waiting or potentially go somewhere else? But with Julian saying, I really like where Alabama stands as of today. I think they've got a great chance to land his commitment on Wednesday. Definitely somebody that can make a big impact. He's an early graduate, so he'll be enrolling at the school of his choice next January. Alabama would love to keep that tradition alive in the state of California. They went out there a few years ago and got a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback in Bryce Young, and they would certainly like to add another one. And his quarterback trainer out in California, same guy who trained Bryce Young. So there's a lot of connections there. But this has been an Alabama LSU recruiting battle for a little bit. Georgia's in it. Georgia just recently picked up a quarterback commitment in their 2024 class. So I do think it's going to come down between Alabama and LSU. My prediction, like I said, as of today, going into the decision tomorrow, is in favor of the Crimson Tide. So we'll see what happens with Julian tomorrow. Alabama already has 3 commitments in their 2024 class. That number could easily be 5 by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, and that's another big-time quarterback. Alabama's done really well in that category, but you got to add one each and every class, and that's something that the Crimson Tide are definitely focused on. Another position of need right now is defensive end. Henderson's going to announce soon, right? Do you think Alabama's the team to beat?
Yeah, Kavion Henderson, defensive lineman from Leeds High School, also in the 2024 recruiting class. That's why I said it could easily be 5 commitments by the end of the weekend. He's going to be announcing his commitment on Sunday, and he has taken several visits to Alabama this season. I think he's been to Tuscaloosa either 3, I think it's 4, but I know he's been to at least 3 home games in Tuscaloosa. He may have been to 4. He went to Auburn earlier in the year for the Penn State game. Talked about going over to Georgia this weekend for the Tennessee game, but he's not going over to Athens. Set to make his commitment at 3 p.m. On Sunday, and I think that Alabama is in pretty good shape there. They currently have 2 in-state commitments in their 2024 class with Perry Thompson out of Foley and Jalen Mbakwe out of Clay Chalkville. I think this could be the 3rd in-state commitment for Alabama heading into this weekend. So we'll see how it plays out, but definitely somebody that Alabama likes a lot early on in his recruitment. He plays defensive end, could potentially end up being a jack linebacker, plays with his hand in the dirt, but it could easily drop back into coverage. He's about 6'2", about 250 pounds right now. So we'll see kind of how he develops his body over the course of the next couple of years. I mean, you just never know for sure where he's going to end up playing, but as of right now, I think Alabama sees him more as a defensive end in their system. But we'll see over the course, like I said, over the next couple of years how he develops. But definitely a guy that plays with a very high motor, very aggressive, and definitely somebody that can make a big impact at the next level.
Talking about guys that could make an impact, Alabama right now could add a bunch more 2024 commitments before they get their next 2023 commitment, which is kind of odd how this thing's all playing out. But there was a guy, Desmond Ricks, who is a 5-star cornerback who just reclassified. And now all of a sudden, he's going to be in Tuscaloosa for the Iron Bowl. Do you believe Alabama is still the team to beat for him?
I think it's close. I think that Alabama and LSU are probably at the top. Now, he likes the Florida schools. He's going to take some official visits over the course of the next month, and we'll just have to kind of see how it all unfolds. He took an unofficial visit to LSU earlier this season. He's also taken an unofficial to Alabama. But he's going to be back in Baton Rouge this weekend for another unofficial, and then he's going to take his official to LSU in December. So there's definitely some high interest there in LSU. He's originally from Chesapeake, Virginia, but attends IMG Academy. I think he's definitely going to stay in the Southeast. Miami, Florida, definitely making a big push for him. Florida State, but right now I would say it's between Alabama and LSU. We'll see how. You never know. Alabama goes down to Baton Rouge this weekend and just lights it up. I mean, could really tilt things in Alabama's favor. But let's just say LSU potentially upsets. I mean, what's that going to do for Desmond Ricks and his interest in LSU? Because we saw that a few weeks ago when Alabama went to Knoxville. With a guy like Damian Hobbs or a Tyler Scott. I mean, there was definitely, in my opinion, those guys were leaning heavily towards Alabama, but they go to Tennessee. They involved in that crazy atmosphere, and ball starts to shift a little bit into Tennessee's favor. Now I don't necessarily think that's the case. I still think it's kind of up in the air, but does a win for LSU potentially move the ball in their favor for Desmond Ricks? We'll just have to wait and see. But the fact that he is going to take an official visit to Alabama later on this month, he's got a strong connection with the Alabama coaching staff, including Travaris Robinson, the DB's coach. There's a lot of positive momentum on the Alabama side with Desmond Ricks, but it's close. I mean, I think that it really come down to those two schools this weekend.
So we're still waiting to figure out what happens with this cornerback class, which is already really talented for Alabama. And you just mentioned that Ricks is a realistic possibility. Kermani McClain announced last week, we thought it was going to be Florida. It turned out to be Miami. How stunned were you by that decision, and any chance that he still could be in play for Alabama?
I mean, I was stunned. I mean, this is definitely a guy that everybody expected to go to Florida. I mean, even the Miami reporters expected him to go to Florida. It kind of reminds me of Eric Gilbert a few years ago when he announced for LSU instead of Alabama, when everybody just assumed he was going to Bama. You talk to every single side to try to figure out where a kid might be leaning. From their perspective. So we talked to the LSU side, we talked to the Georgia side, we talked to the Alabama side on on Eric Gilbert, and it just seemed like it was all Alabama. And then kind of the same with Cormani. You talk to the Miami side, the Florida side, and the Alabama side, and it's all he's going to Florida. That's where he's going. It's pretty much a done deal. And then he announces for Miami. So it's crazy how recruiting works, and how things have certainly changed through the last few years. But that was a big commitment for Mario Cristobal there. As of right now, I don't expect him to make a trip back to Tuscaloosa. He still has that official visit that he can use and come back, and we certainly expected him to visit Alabama before he decided to announce a decision. There was some high expectations that he was going to take an official visit in December, but now with his commitment to Miami, we're hearing that all visits are pretty much off, that he's pretty much locked in and not going to take any visits elsewhere. So, with Kermani off the board, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Alabama, because we, over the last few weeks, ever since he announced that he was going to make a commitment, we didn't think he was going to choose Alabama. So we really have been focusing in on other defensive back targets who are out there for Alabama. We've been doing that for the last few weeks now. One in particular is in South Florida. That's Damari Brown, 4-star corner out of American Heritage High School. He took an official to Alabama back in June, and then came back for the Mississippi State game a few weekends ago. And Alabama certainly has started to really put the heat on him. They really like him a lot, especially after evaluating his senior film. And he has moved up the recruiting board. Another guy that we have talked about on the show is Tyler Scott, 3-star corner out of Georgia. Was a former Arkansas State commitment, but his stock has skyrocketed with the evaluation of his senior film. He's picked up a ton of offers over the course of the last month and a half. including one from Alabama. Took in the Alabama A&M game and is expected back in Tuscaloosa here in the next couple weeks. Well, I guess I guess 3 or 4 weeks down the road, about 4 weeks down the road for the Alabama and Auburn game. So he'll take that official for the weekend. A couple other guys who are still in play. One in particular who has an offer is Malik Muhammad, Texas commitment. Alabama's been pushing hard for him for quite a while. He says that he's going to come back for an official visit. If I had to make a prediction on if Alabama has a very real chance on flipping him, right now I'd probably lean no. I think that's probably the case. I think he's going to end up sticking either with his commitment, potentially flipping to A&M. He took a visit to A&M. Likes the Aggies, but we'll see. If he makes it back to Tuscaloosa, then all bets are off. I mean, they're going to have a really good chance to flip him. So we'll have to kind of wait and see if he takes that trip or not with the Crimson Tide. And then, one other kid who's also out of the state of Texas is C.J. Blocker out of currently committed to Utah. Just recently picked up an offer, didn't pick up an offer. Recently got it contacted by Alabama. There's some interest there, starting to grow. They've watched his highlight film. They're trying to get him to campus, meet with Nick Saban. I think once you kind of get to campus, you get a chance to talk to Coach Saban, and that's kind of when the offer takes place. Alabama really doesn't like to offer kids that Nick Saban's never seen before. So if they can get C.J. Blocker on campus for a visit, potentially in the upcoming weeks, I believe they're going to have a good chance, or he's going to have a good chance to earn an offer from Alabama. So those are some of the main guys that are in play for Alabama that they're recruiting. They definitely want to get another cornerback in this class. They might end up getting two. Those are kind of the main guys that they're going after, and they'll certainly be happy to at least get one. But they also may have to look a little bit into the transfer portal if things don't go well in the next month and a half.
As you hang out with us here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel, guys, comment section, message board, love it, man. Love seeing you guys in there, and thank you for being with us tonight, talking recruiting with Andrew Bone. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel. If this is the first time you've been here, hey, man, Roll Tide. Thanks for coming and hanging out, talking recruiting. Even if you're not an Alabama fan, you're always welcome to come hang out with us. Maybe we'll convert you, right? Maybe you never know. But we do appreciate all you guys that are hanging out with us tonight. Make sure that you give a thumbs up. That's a way of saying Roll Tide. Hey, I'm enjoying the show. And hit the bell so that every time we go live that we're going live, that we got a show coming up. That includes Friday night, 6 to 8 at the Floribama. Bone was just there. I'll be there this Friday night. We'll have Bone on the show, though, talking recruiting. So make sure that you guys check it out. That'll be our preview show for Alabama and LSU. And if you haven't already, we want you to join Bamainsider.com now that we're part of On3, the new world order of team coverage sites. Bone and Joseph Hastings hitting it on recruiting. You got Clint Lamb, Jimmy Stein taking care of the message board, the team side of things. It's getting better and better. You don't even know yet, but it's going to be incredible. And it's changing the face of team sites. So, guys, take advantage of this deal right now while you can. $10 for an entire year. If you don't like it at the end of the year, then just unsubscribe. I mean, it's easy to do, but you're not going to want to miss out. You're going to want to know all the recruiting. You're going to know what's going on with Alabama. If you're a Crimson Tide fan and you're a member of one of these other sites, pull your money and throw it over here, and I promise you, you won't be let down. You won't be disappointed. And if you just want to try it out, maybe you don't want to take my advice today, $1 for 4 months. So that way you can try it out, see what you think. But I promise you that Bamainsider.com, now that it's part of On3, is the cream of the crop. Andrew Bone and Mick Gillespie talking recruiting here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. There's another really big game, Bone. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's taking place in Athens. This has turned out to be one of the biggest games in the history of the conference, right? Georgia's number one. They're undefeated. They are the reigning undisputed national champs, and they're taking on this up and coming Tennessee team, right? That is amazingly undefeated as well, and now they're tied, ranked second with with Ohio State, and they go head to head in Athens. Alabama's going to have some of their targets there, including Justice Hayes, right? And his dad played at Georgia.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, this is going to be an awesome game to watch. I certainly can't wait to turn it on. It's going to be a fun Saturday. These back-to-back games with Georgia and Tennessee, and then Alabama and LSU on Saturday night. So it'll be a fun day of watching football. Obviously, a big weekend for top recruits to go to a lot of big games and be in a lot of exciting atmospheres. And Justice Haynes has been planning on going to this game for a while. I mean, it wasn't anything really new. They'd already had talked about it for a while. That they were going to be in Athens for this game. Obviously, Georgia's still pressing hard for him, but if you go back and you watch any of our recent interviews with Justice or with his father, and there's just really no indication that he's on flip watch or anything like that. He seems very solid with his commitment. Now, obviously, going to Athens and being around the environment, being around the coaching staff, that might change things a little bit as far as the interest level. They're going to put the full court press on him this weekend because he went to he went to the Georgia Oregon season opener, but that game was in Atlanta. You don't get a chance to talk to the coaches or be around the campus or be in the facilities or anything like that, be in that home atmosphere environment. This is going to be a little different. Obviously, this is one of the biggest games in college football this season, and it's going to be a wild atmosphere. So, Alabama's certainly probably holding their breath, making sure that everything they hope he has a good time, but also hope he doesn't have too good of a time in Athens. So that's going to be a big visit for Justice Haynes over to Georgia this weekend. There's some other guys that are going to be over there, including David Hobbs, 5-star defensive lineman out of North Carolina. Is going to be taking his official visit. This is still a battle between Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. So he'll see two of his top schools battling it out this weekend. The 5-star duo, James Smith and Quay Russo, they will be back in Athens this weekend as well. And then one of Alabama's top 2024 targets, I don't want to say he's choosing between Alabama and Georgia, but his top two right now are Alabama and Georgia. That's Ellis Robinson out of IMG Academy, the number 2 cornerback in the country, behind his teammate Desmond Ricks was the number 1. I guess now I hadn't even looked into that. I guess Ellis is the number 1 corner now that Ricks has moved to the 2023 class. But let's see, does that say it? It still says number 2. Well, no, is that 1? Yeah, number 1 corner now. So so now Ellis Robinson is the number 1 corner. So big target for Alabama in that 2024 class. There's going to be a lot of other guys that are going to be over there that Alabama and Georgia are certainly battling for. But those are some guys that definitely wanted to spotlight. We'll see if Caleb Downs ends up making it. We know Caleb's still being heavily recruited by Georgia and Ohio State, but he hasn't said one way or the other if he's going over there. But I'm sure the Bulldogs coaching staff, they're certainly trying to get as many big names in Athens this weekend as they can, because we all know that's going to be a must-watch game on Saturday, and definitely going to be a crazy environment.
A lot going on, Bamainsider.com. Joseph Hastings wrote an article earlier today, and basically he's taking a look back at all of the big recruiting news over the last month. You dropped your insider report this afternoon that spotlighted everything Alabama fans need to watch in November, including some of the big decisions, potential offers, and visits. Now, we don't want to give everything away on here, right? But maybe you could give us, 3 storylines to watch this month.
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is going to be David Hobbs, the 5-star defensive lineman that we just talked about. He's got his top 3 of Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. He'll be in Athens this weekend. He was in Tuscaloosa a couple weekends ago, and he was already in Knoxville twice this season, including Tennessee's win against the Tide. So, his decision is on November the 25th. It's his mom's birthday. Of course, all these people try to make a big deal out of it that he announced his commitment date right after his trip to Tennessee. But what most people don't realize is he has been telling reporters off the record for quite a while. Really since late July, that he was probably going to announce on November the 25th. He just finally made it official, and he's been taking these visits. He's still talking to the coaching staff. So this is obviously a major target for these three programs. Certainly hoping that he will join their class and take it to the next level. But he's definitely one guy that we're going to be watching closely. This month. Another guy that everybody wants to know what's the latest with him is Keon Keeley, the five-star edge rusher out of Tampa. He has not taken another visit since his official to Alabama for the Texas A&M game. Florida's tried to get him on campus. A few other schools have been working to try to get him in town for a visit, but he's been just staying at home. Will he potentially announce a commitment date here pretty soon? We kept thinking that he was going to announce something shortly after his trip to Alabama, at least as far as a commitment date. He didn't do it. He's waited a little bit now. So, I don't think we're going to get into the early signing period with him before he makes a decision. I still kind of think he's going to decide something here pretty soon. But this is a very tight recruiting battle between Alabama and Ohio State. Back in August, we thought it was going to be an Alabama-Florida recruiting battle with Alabama holding the edge. But, Ohio State's done a great job recruiting him over the course of the last couple months. Really, they've recruited him for a long time. But after his official visit, that's when his interest really started to grow even higher for the Buckeyes, and took an unofficial visit back up there a few weeks after the official. But after the trip to Alabama for the Texas A&M game, I still think that Alabama's in pretty good shape with him. So we'll see if he decides to make an announcement here pretty soon regarding a commitment date. And then I'll mention one other guy, Arion Carter, four-star linebacker out of Smyrna High School in Tennessee. Currently committed to Memphis, but doesn't have an official visit date set to Memphis. He does have an official visit date set for Alabama for the Iron Bowl. He's going to take an official to Ohio State and Michigan over the course of the next few weeks. I think he's doing Ohio State on the 12th and then Michigan on the 19th, and then Alabama. He was supposed to take an official to Tennessee this past weekend, ended up canceling that trip. I think Alabama is in a really good spot with him. He grew up an Alabama fan. The Alabama coaching staff loves this guy. They really want him as a part of their 2023 class. I think he's going to end up joining it. I recently put in an official prediction. We always talk about which way are you leaning, and I'll always say I'm leaning this way or leaning that way. But I don't like to make official predictions on three until I don't want to say I'm really confident, but I felt comfortable enough to go ahead and put in a prediction. So went ahead and put in a prediction for Arion Carter to Alabama. But we'll see if he decides to do it, potentially before the official or if it's after. But definitely keep an eye on those three guys, David Hobbs, Keon Keeley, and Arion Carter. But I talk about several other guys. The latest on those guys in my latest insider report, which is on Bamainsider.com right now. It's on the Talk of Champions. So go to Bama Insider, click the message board, hit the Talk of Champions. You'll see all the content there. Plus, go back, get the recap of everything that happened in the month of October on the Alabama recruiting front. Joseph did a great job with that breakdown today as well.
All right. Well, guys, don't forget that you can join Bamainsider.com to get all this information with Andrew Bone, Joseph Hastings, and the crew of experts by going to Bamainsider.com. And right now, $10 an entire year of coverage. You can also just try it out. $1 gets you 4 months. So Bone will put all of his insider information, and with signing day coming and a lot of these recruiting battles going down to the stretch. But we appreciate everything that you guys do, Bone, because there's a lot of heated battles that are going to take place between now and the and signing day and then even after. I mean, it just recruiting never ends these days.
People ask us all the time, when do you take a break? Well, when does Nick Saban take a break from recruiting kids? And it's not too often. So, usually that, once summer camp ends in June and coaches, kind of go their own ways. And the first couple of weeks of July, then you can have a little bit of a breather. But outside of that, it's it's kind of full steam every single day.
Nice. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. Comment section. You guys have been killing it tonight. We appreciate you guys. And thank you to everyone that has been part of our show tonight on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. That's a great way of being part of this community. Over 80,000 now, and moving to 100,000. As many people as will be in Bryant-Denny when Alabama plays the Iron Bowl coming up here at the end of the season, or maybe when they play Austin Peay the week before that, or any football game. Also, give us a thumbs up. That's a great way of saying Roll Tide, and hit the bell so you know when we are live. We do this every Tuesday with Andrew Bone, recruiting with Andrew Bone. And don't forget, Bone will be back with me on the Tailgate Show Friday. You can watch it live here 6 to 8, or, maybe just catch it Saturday as you're getting ready for Alabama football. But we'll have some of the latest information on Alabama recruiting. We'll preview that Alabama LSU game. So make sure you swing back for that as well. Special thanks behind the scenes. Another fantastic job, Chris Daltrey. And for Kyle Henderson and Andrew Bone, I'm Mick Gillespie. Again, thanks for being here today. We'll talk to you again real soon, everyone. Roll Tide.